Delighted is not the word when I tell you that I have Mr. Steve Pemberton from my favourite British comedy troupe, the League of Gentlemen, here today. Not talking about that, talking about other stuff as well, but here he is, Mr. Steve Pemberton. Hello, Steve.
Hello.
Great to see you. Thank you for coming in.
Pleasure.
I guess really, probably, the audience, a large audience, will know you for your work in Benidorm.
Yeah.
More than anything else, because that's been surprisingly a bit, the big hit for you, which isn't really where you came from.
Absolutely, yeah. 7 years I did that, and I just left during the 7th series. It was just the most fun show to film ever. And I used to turn up in my dressing room. There was a pair of shorts and sun cream, and that was it. And when you're coming off the back of all the prosthetics and the wigs and the big noses and the teeth and the freezing cold locations, it was an absolute blast to do.
And was it actually in Benidorm where they shot?
Yeah. They take over the top half of a hotel swimming pool. And in the background, you see real holidaymakers all trying to ogle and have a look and see if Johnny Vegas is there. So, yeah, I've had a blast, but I've left that now. And it is really weird to be doing something really cultish on BBC Two at 10 o'clock, which has its own fan base.
Kind of going back to your roots, really, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I've never stopped doing that. I mean, me and Reese obviously did, what was it called? The League of Gentlemen.
It was instantly forgettable, obviously. Yeah. So let's talk about Inside No.9, because this is the second series of this. Now, I'm going to put this right out there. A, I adore what you guys do, but B, I love the whole idea of an anthology show anyway. A show with a different story each week. Even those Portmanteau shows where you had more than one in one episode. But the idea of a different story with the same cast each week appeals to me enormously because, like you, I'm sure, I grew up seeking that kind of television now. And yet it's fallen very much from favour. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think people, the received wisdom is that people like to follow a set of characters, and that's what draws people back in. And it's, people like, in this day and age, what they call the box set culture. And I just got so sick of hearing, watch The Wire, but you've got to stick with it for the first 18 episodes, and then it gets good, And much as I loved that show, and I loved the Breaking Bads and all of that, we just thought it was time for a return to that. You sit down, you get the whole story. That these characters will come into your lives for that just one half an hour, and at the end of that, you've got a resolution and you're on to the next thing.
What I love about it in particular, though, is the fact you never quite know what you're going to get. Obviously, the stories are different, but also even the tone is different. Some weeks it's broadly comic, other weeks it's just dark and weird. So as actors and writers, I guess it gives you so much more scope, so much more freedom to play around.
Absolutely. When we finish one, we start the next day with a blank page and we go, right, where the hell are we going to go with this one? And if you just start writing, and it's a great writing exercise, you just say you're not going to leave the room, you're going to have a small cast of characters, and we won't decide where it's going to go until we get there, really. And it's a brilliant way for us to work.
I guess budgetary as well concerns are something which help you with this, because if you can go to the BBC or whoever, but in this case the BBC, and say it's going to be one location, it's going to be a small cast of people, it's going to be a fairly tight shoot, those are all factors that work very much in your favour. And I guess more and more these days that's an issue.
That's what we're hoping for. Yeah, I mean, we did Psychoville, which was a big sprawling narrative over, it took place over the whole of the United Kingdom, and we had multiple characters, and this, in a way, was a reaction against that. But
Psychoville, I loved Psychoville. And Psychoville, you managed also to do that, I know, on a very, very small, comparatively tiny budget for a project of that scope.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're doing the same again because the budgets are decreasing. But so we thought this would be a really good idea, and it'd be a good way to, although the resources are, they do not go that far. And when you've got big name casts and, you've got to build some of the sets, like the first episode takes place on a train. Okay. And so we had to build that train compartment, and the whole set was on springs. So that was a feat of engineering, and that didn't come cheap.
Well, I've seen the first episode, loved it. So I laughed, and I found it was kind of had some great twists in it. I don't want to give too much away, but with the broadest possible outline, tell us what happens in the episode without spoiling it.
Okay, well, it takes place on a couchette, which is a 6-berth sleeper train. And it starts with Reese playing this very pernickety, quite sort of ordered anal doctor.
Now, this, of course, is Reese Shearsmith. We should point out for those who aren't as familiar.
Yes, absolutely. My partner in crime, Reese Shearsmith. And so, and then I come in, and I'm a German sort of flatulent, drunken businessman who disrupts his sleep. And then Julie Hesman-Halge and Mark Benton are a bickering northern couple on the way to the daughter's wedding. So basically, the train compartment fills up with this disparate group of characters. And then about sort of halfway through, they make an alarming discovery.
And also, there's two people we missed out as well. There's Jack Whitehall comes in
Yes.
as a kind of posh gap year kind of travelling kid. Who's the young woman who is his kind of counterpart?
Jessica Gunning, who's absolutely brilliant. You might have seen her in Pride or in Fortitude at the moment. She's a sort of Australian backpacker who hasn't washed since Prague.
She's fabulous.
She's brilliant.
So it starts off, we have this very tightly kind of wound guy. Reece Shearsmith is playing this guy who you think, is very, very orderly, somewhat, perhaps too fussy. And then you come in as this kind of overbearing, marvellously stereotypical German traveller.
Yeah.
But very, very funny. And, of course, there's friction there. I love the way it develops. Now, presumably you worked from the end backwards, I would have thought, in a story like this?
No, not at all. We had no idea where it was going. But we decided about halfway through that all the characters have this sort of moral dilemma without giving too much away. And then when we hit that, we thought, yeah, this feels quite meaty now because it's sort of how... In the first series, we did one about... a pop star who died, but he'd just blown up a balloon, and so the characters in that had a moral dilemma. What are we going to do? We could be sitting on a fortune here. We've got this balloon filled with the last breath of a pop star, and it was a similar thing. We wanted to put these disparate group of characters with a moral dilemma, and it felt like once we hit that, it wasn't just going to be people tramping on a train compartment. Much as I'd love to do that for half an hour, it wouldn't sustain.
It's very, very, very funny indeed. I'm here with Steve Pemberton. You'll know him, of course, from Benidorm, The League of Gentlemen, and, of course, hopefully also from Inside No.9. The new series of that begins tomorrow night on BBC Two at 10 p.m. with a genuinely laugh-out-loud, funny first episode, which I adored. I'm assuming it's a diminishing return after that. The rest aren't as good.
Do you know what? The second one is even better. We have Sheridan Smith.
Steve, now we all know the way this works in TV. You put your best one out up front, and then you hide, because by the time we get to show 4, that's the stinker normally.
It normally is, but we don't have a stinker in this.
Wow, you see, that's what I love, this confidence I love. Let us be the judge of that. Okay. But I love to hear you say that, and I'm looking forward to each one. How do you go about constructing? You said that in this first one you didn't really know the ending before you started, which I find almost impossible to believe, because it's so neat. The plot is so nicely constructive, and it's so satisfying. Do you have a bunch of set ideas, like a Rolodex full of filed half-idea stories that you build on, or do you sit down with literally the blank page and build it from the ground floor up?
Well, they're all different. In the case of this first one, I had been on this very journey on a couchette last summer with my kids and my family, and I was lying there, unable to sleep. I was thinking, this would be quite a good number 9. So you start sometimes with a setting. We did one which was set in a volunteer call centre, where people are taking, these calls from distressed people. And we filmed that on CCTV cameras, so it's a static camera, and you're just watching someone answer the phone and talk to depressed people for half an hour. Now, that doesn't sound that exciting.
Doesn't sound like a barrel of laughs.
There's a lot of drama in there. And
yeah.
But other ones, we will decide we've got a great ending. How do we work backwards from that? They're all different. And like I say, it's a really good challenge each week when we finish one to start the next.
The one common theme, or the 3 common themes, I guess, in this series is you and Reece, the number 9, which is kind of really a MacGuffin of sorts, and it's the fact that it's always in one enclosed space.
Yeah.
And I guess, in a way, although it might seem like that's limiting, that was probably quite liberating, because often in drama, you'll find that writers and creators are trying to find reasons to force people together. So they force that kind of hothouse environment where tensions bubble up. So did you come to it from that perspective? Were you looking for a great start, i.e., here's the room, let's bung the people in?
Absolutely. I mean, we were both doing plays at the time when we came up with the idea, and there was something about that kind of, with the curtains open, you're in that set. I mean, Reece was doing an Acheborn play in the West End. I was doing She Stoops to Conquer at the National, slightly more classy.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have had you on to talk about that, I'll be honest.
And there was something appealing about that, about sitting down to watch, like you say, the classic play for today's, and Tales of the Unexpected and Beasts by Nigel Neal. They didn't have a lot of money to spend on different sets and different locations, so you very often would have one quite wobbly set, and you just get a great high calibre of actors, and you just watch a story, and there's such a pleasure in following a story and putting the focus on the writing, and that's hopefully what we've done with this.
You mentioned a few great names there. Thinking back, and this is one for the old-timers listening, what were the ones that, when you were a kid, which are the ones that you remember that really burned themselves into your consciousness, of those kind of either short, they needn't be horror necessarily, but I know that is your sort of default setting.
Well, yeah, there's a wonderful Tales of the Unexpected with Tim West, and he's called Royal Jelly, and it's one of the Roald Dahl stories, and he is sort of has a baby, and he's trying to give it this sort of royal jelly, and he, in the process, turns himself into a bee. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I don't think scientifically that's been proven yet, that link.
But he starts to talk like this, and it's wonderfully hammy, but very, very affecting.
In a way as well, the lack of logic there doesn't stop you enjoying it. It's just you go with it. It's
you
so
absolutely go with it.
Praised.
And if you set up your world well enough, and that's what Roald Dahl was a master of, in that short story format, then, yeah, when you get the unexpected twist, it has grown from... I mean, the best twists have been in plain sight the whole way along. You just haven't seen them coming.
You and Reese work together a lot, of course. I know that Mike Gatiss, we see him. He acts on a regular basis. He also is one of the guiding hands behind Sherlock on television. And I believe they're up to making one every 10 years now. So
yes.
We'll look forward to that. And also there's the other guys in League of Gentlemen now.
Jeremy Dyson. Who did Ghost Stories in the West End. Seems to be a film.
He's the one who has a degree of, shall we call it self-control? He's not on screen.
No.
He's the one who stays lurking in the shadows.
Absolutely.
But will you guys work together on a big project again? I know you're still all friends. Would it be another League of Gentlemen thing, or do you have other plans?
We want to. Yeah, we want to get back and work together again because, every time we meet up, we have such a good laugh. We're all still firm friends. I'm not sure whether we'd want to go back and do the Royston Vasey thing on TV again. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think these days TV culture's changed so much. Who knows? But I would love to see another movie from you. I know it seemed to be in the minority when it went to people actually prepared to pay to see it.
Yes.
But I adored the League of Gentlemen film, and I love the boldness with which you expanded that world in that. And that was tremendous, and I'd love to see more.
We put ourselves in that film, and we had our own characters come and sort of say, "Why are you killing us off?" And then we as the League of Gentlemen, were terrorised by our own characters. And so, yeah, we like to take these sort of bold, not necessarily commercial decisions.
Matter of fact, when you say not necessarily, absolutely not commercial decisions.
No, but I think people who appreciated the film really, really loved it. They didn't want to see yet another spin-off, let's all go to Spain, or have a caper, we've got a bag of money from the mafia kind of.
Although I think I'd have found both of those delightful as well. I love it.
We'd have done a twist on it, though, wouldn't you?
I love it when a TV cast goes to Spain. Kind of like, a Benidorm, because that was the whole series.
Well, the twist there, of course, they'd all come back and be in rainy Manchester for a week.
Once again, that's a special I'd gladly sit down for.
Yeah.
Steve, so pleased you came in. Inside No.9 starts again on BBC Two at 10 p.m. tomorrow night. I'm saying this hand on heart. No, I'm not just being polite because Steve's here. I loved the first series. I watched it. I'll happily sit and watch it again. I hope you remember to watch it as well. Can't wait to see the rest. How many are there in this one?
There's 6 episodes.
Can't wait. And any more series planned after this, or you wait to see how these go?
We're going to wait and see how these go. Hopefully, we've got great guest stars like Sheridan Smith coming in, and Alison Steadman, and Claire Skinner, and David Warner, all kinds of people. So I think that gives you a different thing each week. And if people keep watching it, we'll keep making it.
Chance of a little bit of hair lip before you go?
Alles klar.
There you go. That's all we need. Steve Pemberton, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.